Oh, it's Sunday, and what have we just witnessed? A seismic Sunday with title race implications. I'm kidding. A snooze of a Liverpool United game, which only an Arsenal fan could have loved watching. And talking of Arsenal, bloody whacker, hey, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. God, he's cheap. You got him on sale, as it turns out. Arsenal winning, so again, Aston bloody Villa defying all the haters, digging deep with goals and elite shithousery down the stretch to Don't Stop Believing. We will discuss all of those games with you. Also, Everton, are we good at football? Oh, Manchester City, are they the new Everton? These are hot takes, and Tottenham Hotspur loving Big Ange instead. As I said, we are here to do it live together on this Do It Live presented by Cash App, which until I started using it and loving it, I thought it was owned by Matty Cash. I thought it was a Matty Cash fan site, but no, download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today to start saving today. Who doesn't love saving? Oh, the answer is Andre Onana, but that's money, that's Cash App, and we are here on YouTube Live, a Men in Blazers Sunday special, all those S's, alliteration, where you can come and ask your questions with me and be live on the pod. That's right, you can be part of this crap. Our final live broadcast of 2023. I'm about to genuinely get a car that's right there and go to the airport momentarily. But here's how it works. Just scan that QR code in the top left of your screen, which will take you into a Zoom with our producer, Jake. God bless him. He just hangs out there in between Cash App, Do It Lives. He'll get you set up to ask your question. Come be with me. So joyous last time. Reminder, it's audio only. Do not be afraid. We'll get to your questions later in this broadcast. Come on, get in line now to make sure you get your stuff in there. And if your questions and comments can't wait, give us a like or give us a chat because I will be scanning this beautiful thing. I've just given myself a like, which was fairly... you know what I mean. You don't want to watch me do that again. We're going to break down every moment of action from the weekend, but let's start with a quick toast. And I do want to open by raising my third first Bud Light of the day to Luton Town defender and club captain Tom Lockyer, who is reported to be, quote, in a stable condition, thank God, in hospital after the truly awful scenes yesterday in the game at Bournemouth when he went into cardiac arrest on the field during the game. And what followed was a harrowing reminder that football is football, despite all of the crucial importance that we pour upon it, and life is life. A harrowingly long silence. Sporadic applause from all of the fans, breaking out into chants of Tommy's name, the players hugging each other, Lockyer being taken off on the stretcher, the players going back up the tunnel quickly after him. The match, quite rightly abandoned. Lockyer had experienced a similar incident, if you remember, on field during the opening exchanges of last season's Championship playoff final at Wembley. It was discovered after that he had an atrial fibrillation, a fairly common condition that causes what medical experts call an irregular and often abnormally fast heart rate. It required heart surgery for Lockyer, and we will see now. And we have to avoid getting too into the medical possibilities and the what next, and let Lockyer's family have the space that they need to get through this awful moment, and we'll know more in time. The game itself was abandoned, will be replayed in its entirety from the beginning imminently. That's all by the by. Really, there was that awful echo, I think, for all football fans of the Christian Eriksen claps at the Euros, the Fabrice Muamba, the Bolton trauma that came before it. All we can do is just wish Tommy love, health, strength, his teammates, his family. I can't believe what all of them are experiencing, and to better days ahead for all. To the football, in which once mighty Manchester United entered Anfield with the true fear of being wrecked like the Raiders treated the Chargers. Ten Hag's tail-spinning squad. This is their record before they came on. And United fans, I'd love to hear from you in this moment. Played 24 all comps, lost 12, won 11. Return to the scene, really, of last season's just murder. That 7-0 defilement, a 7-0 that came right after the Carabao Cup win, false dawn. Anfield, a place that United hadn't scored at since Jose Mourinho's last game, 2018, 5 years, 1 day ago. And I'm old enough to remember when United fans used to live for this clash, to come down into Liverpool and try and give Liverpool Football Club a bare-bottom spanking. But every single United fan I knew was dreading this. As their bull Dutch cranium, Ten Hag desperately, frantically, injuries, suspensions, looking for a spark, shuffling through players. One's discarded, one's buried deep in the exile of the depth chart, suddenly flung back into frontline service. Bruno Fernandes showing negative leadership attributes during a needless yellow in the last game, suspended for this one. So Ten Hag went with a midfield two of Amrabat and 18-year-old Kobe Mainu. Rashford on the bench, still recovering from an illness, so we're told. Captain Scott McTominay, just an amazing 3 words. Amazing, humanly amazing, footballingly amazing. A man who was meant to be surplus to requirement over the summer, now captain of Manchester United. Ten Hag explaining he's one of the examples of what it means to play for United, to play with the badge on his heart. The others, they can follow his example. And the example from the outset was mainly running backwards in all hands on deck panic as Liverpool opened up just really like a shiver of hammerhead sharks smelling blood. Lots of blood, winning corner after corner after corner. United struggled to play out the back. Credit them though. They did work so hard to maintain a defensive shell, to repel, to survive. Mainu, diligent, excellent, attempting to thwart, set up the transition. I mean, United fans, you tell me, did you really miss Bruno in what was a collective performance so committed that, bar a couple of headers in the first half and central defenders, Liverpool didn't really test Onana as the sting kind of went out the game? It felt less of a heavyweight bout between two eternal rivals on what the future of democracy depended upon, and more just Liverpool facing really an anonymous routine opponent. Bit like how my brother Nigel describes the Merseyside derby in a way that really cuts me, if I'm being honest. And the game became about Liverpool trying to put the ball at the feet of their most creative player, Andre Onana, and him kicking it straight out of bounds as a result. And sometimes this is a truth. Sometimes football can just be a little crap. And this was a game which really only Arsenal fans could love. Silence at half-time as the players exited. A game which we'd all been so hyped for, but United came in set up and terrified of being hammered. So their aim was not to be beat. Liverpool were just not calibrated. Trent seemed slightly hungover. Passes never quite finding their man. Szoboszlai, Gravenberch not quite on their game at all. Into the second half, Liverpool, who'd scored in their last 34 games, all comps, came out buzzing again. Salah started driving. Trent Alexander-Arnold, low smash, skimmed inches wide. United had a moment of their own, snapping to life. Antony and McTominay combining to 3. Højlund clean through, only to smash the ball at Alisson's rippled chest. And Liverpool had chances down the stretch, but honestly, they were all forgettable. That's what this game was. It was truly forgettable. Bar a late Della Red. Somebody wanted Christmas off with their family very bad. Congratulations, 2 yellows inside 10 seconds. But that is it for Liverpool. A frustration. I think they had 2.35 expected goals, but held scoreless at home for the first time this season. They host Arsenal next weekend, and we'll have to wonder how to regain their spark and clinicality that was utterly absent on this day. For United, gotta tell you, not being thumped, not soiling yourself, not being humiliated is not winning. Big news, a respite though from the losing, the humiliation, the Champions League exit, which will cost them a reported 28 million. The self-loathing, hard to believe, honestly, that same United, beat Liverpool by 8 points last season. Testament really to the speed of Liverpool's rebuild and the extent to which United have stalled out so spectacularly. And the rumours will continue. Ten Hag said Friday, here's no panic of being sacked. But where there are Graham Potter manager rumours, there is fire. It's just a life truth. For now, United fans, you tell me how you feel about this. You'll always have the false dawn of last year's Carabao Cup and the Sir Jim Ratcliffe takeover. Oh, the magical thinking that he's going to make everything feel all right. Gage Wheeler in the chat says, Liverpool-Arsenal next week is going to have Anfield registering on the Richter scale. Oh, the Andy Richter scale. And talking of Arsenal 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. And we wondered, how would Arsenal respond to last week's numbing 1-0 loss at Aston Villa? By licking their wounds at home, where they were undefeated in the last 12 games, welcoming Brighton. By the way, amazing Brighton. That Europa League heroic midweek qualifying for the round of 16 amidst delirious scenes in Marseille. You got to see, this team were playing in the third tier of football in 2011. The joy, the orderliness, the strategy, the vision. I am in awe still with this club, despite the speed bumps this season. Brighton, by the way, last team to beat Arsenal at the Emirates. Checks notes back in May. Textbook smothering De Zerbi masterclass. It was not to be on this day. It opened up, both teams attempting to assert their press, players flipping in and out of position, almost as if the tactics were being updated by algorithm. Saka charging at old man Milner. It wasn't just a footballing clash. It was like Generation Z saying, Boomer generation, take a seat, as Arsenal grasped total control of the midfield, used their movement, their width to stretch Brighton with a poetic liquidity. Declan Rice snarling, Ødegaard just set to astonishing millimetres of invention and precision, his levels, just his calibration. Brighton, they hadn't had a clean sheet in the last 20 games. Their goalkeeper Verbruggen kept doing his best to tee up Arsenal with errant pass after errant pass. But Arsenal were frustrated. Chances made, chances squandered. It was remarkable. The commentator was just saying, he was setting up that narrative. Arsenal going to end the day frustrated. And within seconds, set piece. One that was really like Arsenal of old. A flick on from a corner, albeit by Brighton defender Van Hecker, which was thundered home by an unmarked Jesus, swooping and stooping deliriously at the back post. Cue relief for team and player, just his third league goal of the season. Arsenal fought for the second. Ødegaard thumping a drive. Dude had cocked the trigger shot, was sure he'd scored. Verbruggen, strong wrists of a Dutch onanist. Ødegaard howled on the turf in frustration. Brighton did come alive. Mitoma fleeced the flank, roll one to Pascal Gross, goal at his mercy, somehow flicked it the wrong side of the post, which was an enormous let-off because, again, cue relief too when Kai Havertz break through to kill the game off. 87th minute, immense fifth goal of the season for Waka Waka. Again, Gage Wheeler says Havertz is German for redemption. They got a word for everything. They've probably got a huge compound noun for Arsenal. Mighty Arsenal, back top of the Premier League with the game in 6 days' time at Liverpool looking seismic. Aston Villa, Brentford, or as James Barris calls it in the chat, Mupe versus Martinez in the shithouse derby. We will get to that. Third place Aston Villa. Yes, that's right. Now third place Aston Villa came into this one dreaming of a world that with a win they could, and results going their way in the rest of the games, be top of the table for the first time in 22 years. That is their ether. But here they faced a plucky Brentford and Thomas Frank, the man who'd seamlessly slot into a Premier League manager's Goodfellas remake as Tommy Frank, the wiry but cerebral truck hijacker. And Tommy Frank's team dealt a blow midweek. They learned, they've already lost one striker, Tony. Now they went down without Brian and Bumo, out for 3 months after ankle surgery. And in his absence, Frank stuffed that lineup with 5 defenders like packed Danish Christmas sausage. And whatever he set them out to do on the front foot, it works. On the cusp of half-time, 22-year-old Keane Lewis Potter, never trust a man with 3 surnames, nipped in front of Alex Moreno to pump home the opening goal. Deliver a shot really to Villa's broadside. Second half, Brentford disciplined. Villa were allowed to go side to side but never forward. They were collected to hit on the break. Johan Wieser went close on the counter, and during this stretch the game grew a little bit scratchy. Rash challenges starting to fly in. 71st minute, what ended up being the turning point, Ben Mee sliding in, foot halfway up Leon Bailey's shin. Initially given a yellow, VAR said no, that is a red, and Mee sent walking, reducing Brentford to 10, and 6 minutes later, the victim of these challenges, our CONCACAF cousin, Leon Bailey, lofting one to Brentford's back post, and it was Alex Moreno. Asleep, yes, for the Brentford opener, but very much awake here, stealing in to head home the equaliser. And then 84th minute, another corner flicked on deliciously. And who else there? Two-notcher winner, Ollie bloody Watkins, former Brentford striker he may be, but crashing home with the head, snatching a winner. And I would say the celebrations and non-celebrations against your team, this was a massive celebration. He played 132 times for Brentford, but here he walked into the Brentford net, pointed at fans behind the goal, sparked some grapple that really set the tone for the remainder of the game, which was quite fantastic for the lovers of the dark arts. A clash, heavyweight shithousery clash between Dibu Martinez and Neil Maupay, two first ballot shithouse Hall of Famers showing off their black belt skills. This moment is my cash out moment of the match. Find it on our Instagram. So much argy-bargy, just vague touches of each other leading to collapsing on the field in absolute bloody agony. All I can say is Dibu Martinez feels gravity more than normal human beings, and that's why he's world class. It did end mercilessly 2-1. Villa finished the day in third place, 1 point behind Arsenal, level on points with Liverpool. And this was a magnificent performance. This was not Villa eclipsing City and Arsenal. This was them finding a way to get it done ugly away from home in a game which was like a Russian slap fight more than anything else. Godspeed, Ollie Watkins. Stealthily, he's now tallied 15 goals and assists in the Premier League this season. Only Mo Salah and Erling Haaland have more, both on 18. And I just say, if this was NBA Jam, every time he touched the ball, we would hear that deep voice, he's on fire. City 2, Crystal Palace 2. This is not a typo, because this is not the City we know and love. They dropped points in 6 of the last 10 Premier League games. Haaland out. He's getting a reboot on his foot. A little bit like Westworld, I imagine, the City treatment room. City about to go off to the Gulf region to play in the Club World Cup. And the bad news heading into this one, City had to face a team that has given them so many problems in recent years. Palace, 2 wins, and they drew in their last 5 in the land of Noel and Liam. And the pre-game interviewer, a lovely moment, told Roy Hodgson that he's beaten City 3 times. And Roy looked astounded, and then he just admitted, I remember the defeats more than I do the victories, which is, I think, in there, a truth about football and about life. And for American fans, God bless Chris Richards of Birmingham, Alabama, my mate, our flag bearer in the defensive midfield position. A little bit like an Alabama Dutch boy with his thumb in the dike. And that analogy was apt because City spent the first half flooding forward. I mean, it was just chance after chance, sexy football. Ruben Dias thrust one into Phil Foden, slipped in Jack Grealish, and DJ Grealish slotted calmly past Dean Henderson as if he was matching beats between 2 tunes. A goal that survived the VAR offside check by the narrowest of margins. One more leg day, honestly, last week, and Jack would have been offside. But in the end, you can't take a goal away from the only Premier League player who still believes in Santa Claus. We love you, Jack. 3rd goal in his last 3 Premier League games. My bloody hero. Adore that man. Pep looked on in a zip-up sweater of a top, a turtleneck. The GFOP at Life Alert 17 said, Pep looks like his Spotify rap says he belongs in Wilmington, Delaware. First half, City had 74% possession, 5 shots on goal to Palace's none. I mean, this was all just we could not see what was coming, could not see it at all, because shortly after halftime, City doubled the lead. 19-year-old Rico Lewis hammered home his first Premier League goal ever, and it looked very nail, meet coffin, but this is the Premier League. In 76th minute, Palace route one down the Uncle Roy highway, long ball into Jeffrey Schlupp, squared one across to Jean-Philippe Mateta, pulled back what felt like a consolation goal. I remember watching it, and I barely looked up from my computer. I mean, this is City, right? Yeah, are we in agreement? And this, I love this, was Palace's first bloody shot on target all game. But then, 5th minute of injury time, Foden swung to clear the ball, but took out Mateta. Penalty Palace, calm as you like. Michael Olise left Ederson rooted to his line like a giant Brazilian nut tree. And almost the last kick of the ball, Palace somehow had pulled out of Roy Hodgson's cavities, a 2-2 draw. City dropped points for the 3rd straight game. Astonishing. At home, the first time ever under Pep. Roy's face at the final whistle, he just wandered round emanating the kind of joy that you only see from a great-grandfather at his great-granddaughter's wedding, just shuffling around. The shot of him when the second goal went in and just like giggling, bemused as Pep doubled backwards, throwing his hands into his head and howling at the moon. You've got to imagine the word whippersnapper was used at least once in their post-match interchange, possibly twice. Pep couldn't wait to get out of there, knowing he's now got to face up to the wrath of the English tabloids and their schadenfreude. I've got to say, he owned up to all of it. It's not bad luck. It's deserved. We give away 2 points. We are not able to close games. That is the feeling. Desperately needed joy for Roy Hodgson. So many injuries. Such a brutal, unforgiving run in this season. He's been sounding a bit like old Yeller in the past couple of weeks. The end of novel old Yeller. God bless. And City, they go off to Saudi Arabia to play Urara Red Diamonds on Tuesday in the World Cup Club semi-final. Lots for Pep to mull on that flight. Oh, there's somebody in the chat here, but I can't read it, so I'm going to make it a tiny... Anyway, it's gone. GFOP at Thornton Rules said... Oh, Rog, maybe Manchester City could use a 10-point deduction right now to turn their season around. Laughed my ass off. Chelsea, Sheffield United. Chelsea win a big game of football, a big boy game. Yeah, it was against the Blades, who've had no away wins all season, but bloody hell, it was grim and it was very much needed. Chelsea, all of the possession, none of the ideas. It was hard to watch. Nico Jackson, a surreal offside artiste at this point. In the game. Highlight watching Mudryk nutmeg a fella on the flank, charge onto the edge of the box, probably screaming Ukrainian, I got this! And then just when he was like, nothing can stop me now, unleashed a shot, which almost went out for a throw-in. I mean, Gent is like a Ukrainian Serginho Dest highlight video with neck tattoos. The opening goal, it was like watching someone eat a lot of prunes to release constipation. Raheem Sterling, Cole Palmer interchanging, pull back for Cole to wrap home 6 of the season. Nico Jackson, I mean, his goals are more like always upgrading his ability to turn around and say, wow, that was the easiest goal I'll ever score. Newcastle await for Chelsea on Tuesday in Carabao action. They will be more of a test than the Blades were on this day. And now the big game, Everton at Burnley. Bloody hell. We mighty do, men. We winners of 4 of our last 5. Swaggered into Fortress Turf Moor. Okay, not such a fortress anymore, but don't take that away from me. Burnley had actually lost 12 of their first 16 games, but let me big myself up. Sean Dyche returned to Burnley since being escorted off the premises with all his techno CDs in a large cardboard box in April 2022 after nearly a decade on the job there. He's had his Everton team playing like, honestly, to me, I've said this, that Everton have been playing like the US men's national team should. All for one, one for all. Robust, organised, collective football imbued with a pugnacious spirit. It's been magical to watch. The players respond with the fans to the injustice of that 10-point deduction, rising up, smiting all comers. Honestly, part of me feared that, and I've said this a couple of times, that they were playing with verve in the same way as a chicken still runs around even after its head has been cut off. But in this game, in the damp mud, Sean just cackling as he launched Dwight McNeil, Michael Keane and Tarkowski back on Burnley like Viserion, the ice zombie dragon, turning on the good guys. Everton so bloody bright. Then Dyche went peak Dyche ball, hemming in. Oh, poor young Trafford, the goalkeeper, on a corner, floating the ball back post for Onana to thunder home. A dunk of a header. I've got to say, it feels out of body for me watching Everton at the moment. So sure, so confident, so potent. Who are we anymore? Who are we? All these goals, all these wins. I'm starting to think, points, goals, point deductions. We love all of them just the same. Michael Keane then scored against his former team. Bless him. A man who suffered agony, definitely celebrated. When is he ever going to score again was really his thinking. Honestly, watching Everton, is this what it felt like to watch City when they were good? Just you expect your team to win. You know, the suspense of watching football is totally gone. I'll be honest with you. Part of me realised, stay with me here, I hate watching Everton Football Club. I told my kids that when we went 2-0 up, and they were like, you will mourn those words and those feelings when we have no wins in February and are back teetering in the relegation zone again. And I tried to explain to my youngest son, Oz, he's 12, and I realised that I watch Everton like a really good comedy. It's like watching Arrested Development every week, but suddenly, instead of Arrested Development, they've turned the same show with the same cast into like Prestige TV. Suddenly the same actors are like acting out The Wire. But I want my joy. Don't take away my surreal joy through pain away. And I was trying to explain this to my 12-year-old, and Oz just looked at me, and then he just screamed, Dad, Everton have ruined every weekend I've had since I was 6 years old. Just give me this month of happiness. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, my God, what have I done? And I realised this. Everton, essentially, we're playing NHL tactics. It's dump and chase. Everything about the second ball. We did look gassed down the second half, which doesn't augur well for the holiday period, but Burnley never really threatened. It was impotent for them. 8 points after 17 games. Every team that's had that has not survived in the Premier League. Their one joy on the day, witnessing Lyle Foster's return for his first appearance in almost 2 months after time off to deal with mental health challenges. We wish him well. Burnley actually energised by his return. And I wish them well, especially my mate, JJ Watt, who was there at Turf Moor and will be my guest for a really beautiful interview on December 22nd. Everton, though, let's savour this moment. 16th place. Would be 10th without the point deduction. 5 away wins a season, more in the last 2 combined. Clean sheet too. God bless you. Everton show us. Light life, football teaches you we don't know anything. The points deduction was meant to kill us. It made us invincible. Manchester City, I realise this, should just accept the punishment because we only had it for 1 charge. Can you imagine how good a points deduction for 115 charges is going to make them? I'm just saying. Other games, West Ham fresh off the 5-0 beatdown against Fulham. Got a win reprieve for Moyes that he needed. 3 counter-attacking assists for Paqueta. 2 goals for Mohamed Kudus, who quietly, while you were not watching, has now scored or assisted 13 all comps this season. Newcastle slapped Fulham. Incredible foul by Raul Jimenez, who was like, as he charged in to a Longstaff brother, an English IU, like a Mexican Ray Lewis. That Barbie pink Fulham kit got him thinking he was in the Mojo Dojo Casa house. It was grim for Toon in that first half. 2 more injuries, Shaw and Joe Linton, that they don't need. It was bloody miserable. You did start to wonder, what deal with the devil at the crossroads did Eddie Howe make that he's suffering in such a way? But the second half, the goals came in a glut. Lewis Miley, Newcastle's youngest Premier League scorer in the Premier League era. His first Premier League goal, just 17 years of age. Incredible. Miggy Almiron got one. The world always feels better when he scores. Dan Burn added a third. And after the European limp performance midweek, just 2 English teams now left in the round of 16, which is astonishing. Much needed win. Toon fans singing right at the end, last Christmas you gave me your heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to Jason Tindall. A big shout out to Ipswich, who survived the first Old Firm derby in 5 years against dread rivals in the Tractor region, Norwich. It ended 2-2. So bloody happy for my producer J-Dubs, lifelong Ipswich fan, to have the Tractor Boys back in the Premier League. Ed Sheeran cheering them on. That ginger joy when they equalised was magnificent to witness. It will be a stunning moment in Men in Blazers Media Network history. Finally, we're almost there. Let's dial it back to Friday afternoon. Happy hour, Matt Turner, top 3 Matt Turner, and it's not 1 or 2. The opening exchanges marred by poor old Brennan Johnson. Forrest Dagger turned Spurs new boy having to limp off in his return to City ground with a face injury. Forrest game, but without a 1-year, utterly blunt. Spurs goal felt inevitable. Matty T did have a fine diving save to keep things goalless early, but on the stroke of half-time, just Kulu whipping a ball, a true poem, straight into the Kenny Loggins danger zone. And Richarlison, come back to Everton, mate, rose up in front of an exposed Turner to glance the ball into the corner, his 5th of the season. Richarlison is a goal health monster, bellowed Ange post-game, slightly hyperbolically. 20 minutes into the second half, really the agony. The back-breaking goal born of a Matt Turner error. It's painful to watch this. It's the kind of error that can actually break a gent. Poor footwork led to a terrible clearance. Kulu pounced upon the ball, drove in on goal, and then smashed the ball right through Matty's hands. Really a hat-trick of mistakes, each one compounding on the last. I ache for Matty Turner and wish him strength. Spurs ended with 10 men after a Basuma wed, but Forest did not threaten. Back-to-back wins for Ange again. Curse of death. Gents now being linked by the English tabloids to the Man City job post-Pep. But some weekend for Spurs fans. Congratulations to Tottenham women, who yesterday had their first ever North London derby win over Arsenal. It wasn't even 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, and Tottenham fans had the perfect weekend already. One note before we dive in to your questions. Can I just say how truly awful the late Friday night news dump was that Major League Soccer will not send its first teams to the US Open Cup in 2024, instead electing to enter its development academy, its youth league teams. This is a massive, massive mistake. I hope it's like some kind of new Chicago Fire badge unveiling, a decision that's so poorly thought out and unpopular that it gets immediately reversed. This moment, honestly, not in a good way, can be legacy defining if it's not under review. In the same way, honestly, as signing Messi was legacy defining, but in the completely opposite direction. The Messi arrival was about growth of football in this nation. This is about destruction, placing commercial decisions over history, intellectual property over footballing tradition, and a battle for control over really one of the most precious gems that we have. And yes, the US Open Cup has been poorly managed for decades, but there's new leadership at US Soccer, and they deserve the chance to make this tournament a win for everybody. To be clear, I adore the US Open Cup. I actually talked about this a couple of years ago, once interviewed the oldest US international alive. His name was Gene Olaf, a goalkeeper, now sadly deceased. But then he was in his 90s, lived in New Jersey, former highway patrolman. And he talked about participating in the US Open Cup wide-eyed with tales of the Fall River Marksman or Bethlehem Steel. He talked about a final he played in where there were lines streaming outside of the historic New York Polo Grounds. And he talked about the tournament as if he was talking about the Champions League or the Premier League trophy. And the US Open Cup is simply this: the richest, most wonderful bloodline in American football history. It must be preserved. It must be growing. It needs smart human beings around it together to work out how self-interest for the MLS clubs can be developed, sponsors attached, broadcasters engaged. Honestly, this tournament is the everything for the grassroots of football, for the great teams in the lower leagues of our pyramid. A pyramid where there's already no promotion or relegation. Immense teams filled with passionate fans like Detroit City, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I long to go there, see their fans, their stadium in 2024. This attempt to plough the tournament under, it's almost a bet that football fandom in the United States is looking away at the Premier League, looking away at the Champions League, and they will not know what's going on domestically. It's a piece of thinking, I hope. I mean, it still can be reworked. I yearn for a collective conversation about how to preserve and build and grow this true jewel of the American game in 2024. Klopp's just spoken in a post-match interview where he said he can't remember a more dominant performance against Manchester United, even when 7-0. Said the only thing he didn't like about the performance was the result. You put that statement in a Catalan accent and that would be peak Pep speaking. Okay, listeners, it's time to get to your questions. Here's how things work on YouTube Live. Let me remind you again. You just have to scan the QR code in the top left of your screens, click on the comment in the chat. It'll take you into a Zoom with our producer Jake, who will tell you all you need to know. By the way, he'll tell you all you need to know about life, not just about coming on this show. Jake knows a lot of crap. Don't worry, you won't appear on screen. And for those of you who don't want to ask a question, just smash that like button. Let's be having you. Let's start with Ev, who's got a question about the FA Cup and the Carabao Cups. Ev, tell us where you are, you beautiful human being, and what's your question?
Hey, can you hear me?
Ev, I can hear you loud and clear, you beautiful human being.
This is Evan Fournier. It's Evan Fournier from Leon, northern Spain. Again.
Oh, God, how is northern Spain? What are you drinking this afternoon, Ev?
Oh, Glühwein. Lots of Glenvine.
Get in there. Get it. Let's get big glue wine sponsorship for Ev. Remind us where in Spain you are, you gorgeous man.
Leon in the north.
Oh, God.
About 2 hours south of Hicom.
Best
Yeah,
Leon
it's right
since
up in the
Osman.
mountains.
Oh, mate, the mountain air, the glue wine, the football. I want your life, Ev. What's your question, you incredible human being?
So, obviously, I'm an Everton supporter for about the last 20 years, which have been up and down. But what I've noticed
mostly
recently...
Mostly down, Ev.
Not enough, though. But one my major question is that we have all of these games coming up with the Carabao, with, I mean, the teams that are better than us. They're playing in Europe all day long. There's injuries after injuries after injuries. Is this sustainable? Because it doesn't make any sense for these players to be playing, I think, after Boxing Day and then New Year's and then the Carabao and then the FA starts again in January 6th. How do these players ever get a rest?
Yeah. That's an incredible question. By the way, did you start supporting Everton because your name is Ev? Are you like, it's like how I started living in Rogers Park and moved to Chicago. I was just like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll move that.
No, my high school varsity team that I played for, my club team, were really, really bad, but we could beat the good teams and lose to the bad teams.
God bless. That's then you relate emotion. And I love the way you said supporting Everton. There's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, just completely fabricating all the ups. But it's the cups. So the short of it is we are going to get exhausted. The way Sean Dyche plays is utterly exhausting. I mean, he does, as I said earlier, he plays kind of like NHL. If an NHL team was playing in the Premier League, that style of football, I've loved watching it in every regard, to be honest. Dump and chase, pressing, counter-pressing, teams who love to play out the back, just being violated by our hunger. By the way, Sean Dyche might not get us to the Premier League title, but I bet the way he's conditioned these boys physically and mentally, we could make a big run deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs. God, can you imagine that talk with the Stanley Cup? That would be what he would do when he got to bring that home to Tartland. That Stanley Cup would not survive. But we did look gassed in the Burnley game, which is why I guess you're asking that question. Down the stretch, we looked gassed. It doesn't augur well for the holiday period, in which we play Fulham on Tuesday. In the Carabao quarter-final. Then Tottenham. We always seem to play Tottenham around December 23rd. Always following them. I'm always following Tottenham on.
But they look gassed as well.
Yeah, but no one can be gassier than we are. We are a very gassy football team. Then we got a game off. We play Manchester City. They're crap now. And then Wolves, and then that big FA Cup game, Crystal Palace, Everton. And I've got to say, I forgot to ask you.
I remember that. I remember that last rematch. We lost 3-0.
Yeah, oh God. But you know that, ultimately, how hard do you want this team to go? Because the notion of silverware and Everton Football Club, that 1995 FA Cup final win was just...
I'm wearing my Duncan Ferguson jersey right now.
With the glue line. You're on the glue line with the Duncan Ferguson FA. I mean, when they won, I regret not being like, God, that was amazing. And let me savor this feeling of winning silverware for, the next couple of decades, because it will not happen again. I mean, Florida Cup, no disrespect. How hard would you like them to play? Because I've got to say, a lot of my Everton mates, particularly the ones who've moved to America, Anglo, Scousers in America, I've had a lot of texts over the weekend, slightly cocky, to be honest. I've not replied to any of them, being like, Carabao Cup, this is our year. Let's start planning our trip for the Wembley final. I was like, wow. But part of me was like, I don't do that. I don't engage in planning until we're actually there. And I'm sure these texts and me talking about it has already cursed us. But how sweet would that be, Ev? How sweet would that be?
Yeah. It would be just a breath of fresh air. It would be a sign that maybe we're not just completely screwed over.
Mate, I'll bite your arm off for a sign that we're not screwed over. Everton Football Club, if you're listening, you should actually apply to enter the US Open Cup. That is exactly what you should do. I would love that. You get on that now. That is a trophy. I'm not saying we can win it. I'm not saying, Vermont Green may have something to say about that when we play them in the final. But, God, Everton and silverware, Sean Dyche has no has absolutely no decision to make other than to go like a bat out of hell and try and win with all of his might. Because
Meatloaf.
this could be
Meatloaf it all.
God, he came, oh, put the fucking meatloaf on, lads. I mean, nobody loves, I bet you, Sean Dice, ironically, loves listening to Meatloaf while eating meatloaf. He is that guy. Ev, come be with us anytime, you beautiful human being. I want to get all of you guys up from today. Here's the great Pat from Evanston. Oh, great to have you back, Patty. How are you doing, beautiful?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic because Deitch's Talk is on a European tour, a European tour, a European tour. Oh,
It's just like the Everton fan chat, mate. It is amazing. Can you believe it, first of all? How do you understand it? And how long will it last, Pat?
so here is the thing. I think we are playing very direct, and I don't think that's a big secret or anything like that. But it's that when Dele Alli talked to, it might have been the Echo or the Guardian, about what he was seeing and about how the players were understanding Dyche's attacking philosophy, that they weren't quite good. They were thinking, football, any danger, get it out, right? But he kind of explained it as, when he was under Poch, that the idea of turn it, get on the turn, play it forward, get on the turn, play it forward. That's how I think we are being effective, because I mean, we have, like, in terms of even underlying numbers, we are doing very well. This isn't just like hope and pray football, nick a 1-0. This is 4 straight clean sheets, third best defensive record in the league, both underlying and just result numbers defensively. And we're getting goals even after being so wasteful. And Dom has to start burying these chances because it's been bad. But that's what I wanted to say, is that I think there is more to it. And as much
mate, I just tell you, as you read many stats from FootMob on the show, which I always appreciate. I said this is the kind of football, it's delirious to watch. I mean, it really is. It's very intelligent football. Like, I don't think Sean is the greatest tactical genius of all time. I know the players just love playing for Everton right now. They play a lot of five-a-side footy in training. They're having a blast. The spirit is amazing. This is the kind of football, simple football, committed football, organised football. I mean, just joyous football, joyous in the relations between them. They're clearly having a great time together, all of them. I mean, just absolutely love it. You could compare it to seasons past, just the misery of Everton Football Club. These players are reveling in it. I look at the Decore with just deep human admiration. A gentleman that should have left under Lampard, just so deflated, so in exile, but back and just reveling in every single bloody second on the field. This is how I'd like my US men's national team to play, knowing we have a goalkeeper who will not concede, having a wall in front of him who just, it was Godfrey who played so bloody well this weekend, but normally watching Tark and Brantwaite just high-five each other with every bloody clearance, and then building, in possession, sod it, but just seizing in moments, knowing that you have talent and combinations up front who can hurt opponents. That is my Everton at the moment. That is what I would love my US men's national team to play. And as we head into 2024, I'm living the first one. I'm dreaming about the second one. I'm feeling so bloody great. Enjoy your holidays. The great Pat from Evanston. Come be with us anytime. And Ben Steigerveit, which sounds like a German word for something, is up next. Benny S., tell us where you are and what's your question.
Hey, Raj, I'm Ben from Southwest Virginia. It is very German, and I don't know what it means, but that's my starting point. So change of pace from the Everton talk. How many points are Arsenal going to win the league by now that they're back in first place where they belong?
We're in Southwest Virginia, Ben.
Near Blacksburg. I live in Christiansburg.
Oh, mate, that is absolute God's country. Are you feeling? How confident are you feeling there, right off Highway 81, as you live and breathe and speak to me? How confident are you feeling in sincerity?
I'm sky high after the Brighton win. It felt like we finally got rid of a bugaboo there. but I'm terrified of Liverpool next week, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's how we live, dude. I mean that is how we live, and I love it. By the way, is it true that they are shutting down the substation sandwich shop in Plattsburgh? Because if so, that is
they
heartbreaking
are,
news.
yeah.
Do you know
I
why?
can't believe you know that. Yes.
Do you know why they're shutting it
It's
down?
finally closing.
This is all. First, they take away the US Open Cup from us. Next, they shut the substation sandwich shop in Blacksburg. These are dark days. These are dark days, Benny Steigerwait. So you've just nailed gorgeously the wonders of being a football fan. I mean, today I thought Arsenal were fantastic against a very good Brighton team. Just absolutely melted down their press and just clenched them by the throat. The finishing not great, but the feeling, were I an Arsenal fan coming out of that, I would feel absolutely ebullient. Just the class, the levels of class of a game that many seasons they would have wilted in, lost their way, let the points drift away. Here, they were resolute in their conviction, found a way to execute emphatically. But I love how coming out of it, instead of being like, yes, nothing can stop us now, you're like, oh, Liverpool, kind of crapping myself. So can you square that circle for me? Is that the legacy of last season, and knowing that you were surging and you were ripping your shirt off and nothing could stop us now, until it very much did? What exactly are you afraid of, Ben, if you could put it into words?
I'm afraid of another Saliba injury, because I think that's what ultimately tanked our season last year. And we're also very thin at the defense, so I'm also terrified we won't sign anybody in January, which I think is every football fan's fear.
Yeah, I mean, God, the fascinating question is really which clinical striker will it be arriving at the old Emirates, and we will see. By the way, when you next go back into that sandwich shop, the substation, can you please steal the 2001 Virginia Tech poster that's on the wall at the back there, so I can get it to producer J-Dubs as my Christmas gift, because there is nothing that will make that man happy. There's a soccer poster, I believe, the Virginia Tech soccer team from 2001 that is hanging on the wall. So if you are the owner of the Substation Sandwich Shop and you're listening to this, drop us a line, meninblazers@gmail.com. I will pay money for that Virginia Tech soccer poster for producer J-Dubs, who went to Virginia Tech, played football there with his surprisingly tree-like legs. I mean, they are oaks, man. They are oaks, and they covered every single blade of bloody grass. Glass is actually a great Freudian slip for that man. Godspeed to you. Come be with us, Ben. I think you're going to do Liverpool. I think you're going to have an incredible, joyful holiday. I do worry. I mean, the one thing I worry about is just City, just Glenn Closing it. Like, we laugh. Pep always laughs last, always. I'm working very hard not to tone up my Schadenfreude, if you know what I mean, about Manchester City, because I know that dude is taking notes, taking names, and telling you he will know exactly who is laughing at Manchester City in this moment. And if anybody knows not to laugh at them, it's probably me and every single Arsenal fan in every regard. Ben, can we get a bold prediction for 2024? In your heart, where does it tell you Arsenal are going to end up?
I'm feeling like first, Raj. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I'm feeling like we're gonna top the league.
Oh, Benny, this mug is for you, baby. Hope kills, hope kills, hope kills. Honestly, the Surgeon General should put a health warning on some of our football teams, Benny. I hope you're right. I really, really do. It'd fill me with great joy for every Arsenal fan in the Men in Blazers community. Godspeed to you. Last call from the great, because I love alliteration today. It's Will from Winnetka. Will, welcome back. Oh, tell us what your question is, you beautiful human being.
Hi, Raj. Sounds like you have a flight, so I'll keep it short and sweet. It just seems like whether it's with the teams at the bottom of the table in the Premier League right now, or frankly, some uneventful groups in the Champions League that felt wrapped up by the fourth or fifth match day, the gap between the haves and the have-nots in football right now is as big as we've ever seen it. How do you explain, or how do you understand where football will go in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years in terms of driving more competitive fixtures? Yeah, is the gap going to get wider and wider? And is something Super League-esque, as much as we hate it, seemingly inevitable as you look at the landscape right now.
Oh, Will from Winnetka, you beautiful human being. I mean, at the end of the day, we are just cheering for balance sheets. You asked a great question. There's a lot of European football administrators who are laughing in the wake of this Champions League open round, the last one we'll ever have, in which two English teams fell from grace: Manchester United, Newcastle United, not even qualifying for the Europa League. Ultimately, we've watched a lot of Champions League football for what? In each group, the richest two groups emerged, the richest two teams emerged from their groups, apart from Copenhagen, which was really Manchester United, soiling themselves, and PSV Eindhoven, just that majestic team, that majestic narrative, just that incredible story that we've been, I've really enjoyed covering in 2023 with the PSV USA series. We just released the latest one with our mate Ricardo Pepe. It's on YouTube. It's on our podcast stream, and I think I just adore that human being and what he stands for. Right. I mean, the Champions League group stages are going to change it, probably obliterate the actual meaning of competition in a new and different way next season. But the Champions League's got a real problem, and it does feel as if we are. I mean, the Super League, ultimately, the battle wasn't will there be a Super League or won't there be? It was more that UEFA fended off the attempt by the Super League teams to create something that they had no involvement in. UEFA essentially fought to get their piece of what really exists de facto, which is a Super League. I mean, we're seeing it in the Premier League. Aston Villa's story is magnificent, but I think they've got something like the 6th highest payroll in the Premier League. So you've got Manchester City staggering. You got Newcastle adopting to Champions League reality. Manchester United having a terrible season can explain their rise as much as beautiful football reasons. So it is a heart of darkness. And if you're a Luton fan and the slither of a budget that your team's on, if you're a Burnley fan, if you're a Sheffield United fan, I mean, look at the bottom of the table. It is driven by money. And there is, as we crackle to an end of 2023, a lot of talk in UEFA about salary caps. This year, we were lucky enough to have the president of UEFA, Alexander Sheffering, come on the show and talk about how he thinks salary caps are going to be the future. But there is too much money in football, too much insanity, too much self-interest, particularly of agents. They're talking about capping the amount agents can make in deals. So there's a lot of talk. I think we are honestly seasons away from reality. But if anything comes from this Manchester City case, which is not going to go on for until 2024-25, to me, it's that more information will flow out about the accounting in football behind a super team. More eyes will be opened. And in that process, I don't know what will happen to Manchester City, if anything, but just seeing that process live out, we will, the eyes of the football fan will be open to the forensic accounting behind super football teams, and change will come in the wake of it, because God knows we need it. At the end of the day, what are we cheering for? We're cheering for spreadsheets, Excel sheets. This is like football as a Premier League that's worked out by H&R Block accounting, and we deserve better. We really do. A final toast of the year, a year of love and football and peace. I want to raise my final shot of Jägermeister to a fantastic letter that I received this morning at meninblazers@gmail.com that made me laugh. It's from a gentleman, Ben Levine, who wrote, "Hi Rog, Davo and J-Dubs, long-time GFOP here. An American. I moved to London in 2022. As I was preparing for the move, I promised myself I'd go to as many football matches as I could possibly attend. I often go to watch my local Dulwich Hamlet. Been to about 5 Premier League games and counting. Yesterday, I found myself at a Gillingham-Bradford match. My mate, a Bradford native, and I have attended a few of the Bantams matches so far. And going to League Two," Ben writes, "is thrilling. the grounds, the concessions, they're nothing to write home about, but everyone there is so invested in the game. You see why football is so much more than just a match on the field. And on the way, my friend told me one of Bradford's players, Jonathan Tompkinson, will be playing on the US men's national team Olympic squad. During the game, I couldn't take my eyes off him. Was this our Andy Robertson or Lucas Digne? At halftime, I realised that I'd worn my US men's national team t-shirt by some insane chance. It was just at the top of the pile. It was its time in the rotation. By the way, the fact you're wearing a t-shirt in England in December, you are proper hard, Ben Levine. I realised what I had to do. At the final whistle, I took off my jacket and hoodie, ran down to join the throngs of Bradford fans behind the goal, clapping their side off. I was disappointed. There was no way he'd see me, but as he scanned the crowd, he did a double take. I saw his face turn from blank to recognition to confusion to a beaming smile. His teammates saw me too, grabbed him, pointed at my shirt. It was an amazing, life-affirming moment. Here's a man from Boston and a man from Plano, Texas, in Kent, England, of all places, brought together by a love of the game. Being an American in the United Kingdom, especially when it comes to football, will always be the other, betrayed by our accents, mocked as people who don't really know. But I like to think that slowly, surely, we're getting the respect that we and all the fans of football truly deserve. Ben, that is a beautiful story. It filled my heart with joy. To you, to Bradford, to the US Olympic team, and to Jonathan Tompkinson, and to everyone making memories here in the United States, and particularly going over and watching those games live. And before we go, quick mention of what is a jam-packed 2 weeks ahead at Men in Blazers World Headquarters, where the cooks are in the kitchen slinging dish after incredible dish. Producer J-Dubs and his edit team working like fiends. It is our Men in Blazers holiday extravaganza. 2 weeks of content to keep you company during the holiday season. We all love the holiday season. We all love our family, but everybody needs an hour away, right? And our lineup includes Wrexham Executive Director Humphrey Carr, John Green, The Fault Is in Our Stars, magical Liverpool fan, mighty JJ Watt, Burnley co-owner, Becky Sauerbrunn, the people's captain, going deep on a year in review of everything that's happened in the women's game. Rory Smith, my mate, the New York Times, Hurt Gomez, Sir Patrick Stewart, whose book I just happen to have just handily here on the side, and new episodes of our early kickoff pod every morning, and it all starts tomorrow with the big one, John Oliver. Here's what you need to know. We are releasing this podcast on our early kickoff feed, not the main podcast feed. So if you want to go in there and listen to it, subscribe to the early kickoff podcast feed, search Men in Blazers early kickoff, hit that subscribe button tomorrow morning. You'll be treated to our annual John Oliver pod special. The last 10 minutes of it really, we've done a lot this year together with you. And I just say they gave me more joy really than I deserve. We hope you enjoy listening to it as much as we did, making it and all of it. This is Rog. I'm off to Italy. I'll be at the Roma game against Napoli. If anyone's going to that, come and say hello. Just enjoy your family, enjoy your football, enjoy your everything. It has been an incredible 2023 for all of us at MIB Media Network. 2024. Do I need to say 2 words? Copa America. It's going to be incredible. I hope to be out with you all across this nation. I hope we get to raise many, many glasses together. I hope we just keep savouring every second, take nothing for granted, and make great memories through football. This is Rog saying big, big love and courage.